How do you? All right, so a couple things to talk about today. By the way, welcome to the program, Ben Bergquam, Frontline America, Chasing Freedom, America's Voice News. Do me a favor, click that share button, and do me another favor. This is, we've got to counteract the censorship, the real election collusion that is coming up. What's up, Lana? Or Lana? L-A-N-A. Nelson, welcome to the program. You're the first one I saw in there. Congratulations to Lana for joining the program. Do me a favor, share it, but do me another favor. And Lane, welcome. Do me another favor. Go into, on both pages, on America's Voice News, while we're getting this audience built up, keep sharing, send it out, invite your friends, tell them it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about stuff that the mainstream media refuses to talk about, or they're simply lying about. They don't like that word, lying. They don't like people using that word against them, but it's true. They lie a lot. We're going to talk about that. But what I need you to do is to go into your settings on our page, on America's Voice News and on Frontline America. Click the little three dots up on the top right corner of the page, and it'll give you an option. It'll say following. Click on following, and then make sure you have it set to see first. Because what's happened is the algorithms in Facebook have made it to where we aren't being shared. We will share this, you will share this, but unless you have it set to see first, and unless our followers have it set to see first, the rest of them, they won't see it. So it'll go to your page, it'll make you feel like you're doing something really nice and snazzy, but in reality, Facebook's silencing it. And that is the election collusion that you need to know about. So share it, click those little buttons, make sure it says following, and then also make sure it says see first. Fact checkers came out. We're going to talk about a few things today. It's going to be a quick one. We're going to rock and roll, bang it out. But I want to give you guys some information to use against the left. We have to expose the left. We have to defeat the left. And the only way we do that is if we have the information. I just got a message from Mark Leonard, our producer. Facebook is preventing us from cross-posting. Of course they are. Of course they are. So I need your guys' help. You guys will be my cross-posters today. If you guys are watching this, please share it. Share it to groups. If you have another page that you're on, share it to there. Carol, thank you from Mississippi. Tell all your friends in Mississippi to come watch. West Virginia, hang on, we got West Virginia in the house. Robert from a wild and wonderful West Virginia. Welcome, sir. Thank you, Donna. Says done. Great day for the U.S. Sandra, Mike. God bless you guys. Yep. This weekend, 48 shootings, 10 murders in Chicago alone. One of the strongest gun laws in the country, cities with the strongest gun laws in the country, yet more shootings there. We don't talk about that very often. By the way, have you guys heard this too? California, we're in the communist state of California. We're going to talk about it a lot today. It's going to be kind of a free flow of ideas. So if you guys have an idea, just throw it up there and I'll grab it and maybe I'll talk about it. Maybe not. If I don't like the idea, I probably won't talk about it. But Chicago, who said that? Who said that? Dennis brought up this one, so I'm going to talk about this real quick. Chicago, murder capital of America and the world many years, has some of the strongest gun laws in our country, yet they have more gun-related deaths than any other city in our country. The reality is, gun laws don't stop criminals from criminal activity. Laws in general don't stop bad activity. Now, strong punishments do. That's why the death penalty is effective. Because if you know that you might get the death penalty when you murder somebody, you are more inclined not to murder that person. That's just general human nature. You don't want a bad punishment. Now in California, there's a reason why we have so many repeat offenders. Because Democrats run this state. And Democrats don't hold criminals accountable. Right now, we have sheriffs letting prisoners out of prison because they're afraid that they're going to get sick. I don't care if you're in prison if you get sick. And maybe that's mean-hearted of me, but really, if we want to social distance people, shouldn't we be able to do that in prison better than out on the streets? But this is the reality. The reason we have more crime in America is because Democrats don't hold criminals accountable. They hold law-abiding citizens accountable. And that's the problem. Now, President Trump made a tweet, one of his many truthful, awesome, right-on-the-money tweets. In this case, it was about voter fraud. By the way, keep sharing this, guys. Keep sharing this. The only way we defeat the censorship is if we outshare the censorship. And so I need you guys to keep doing that. If you're just joining the program and you haven't shared it yet, share it, because they're not letting us cross post. This video should have 1,000 viewers right now, and we have 193, 195. Let's get this thing up to, let's try to get it to 1,000. Get it as high as you can, because America needs this information. And this is the reality. This is the election collusion they do not want you to know about. They don't want you to know that there is voter fraud. So what do? They have one of their Democrat fact checkers at Twitter go and say, we saw that this is wrong. We say that this is wrong. Simply because some leftist outfit said it was wrong. The truth is, voter fraud is real and it is rampant. The reason why Democrats want mail-in ballots is because they know that mail-in ballots create more opportunities for voter fraud. If you are less likely to get caught, you are more likely to commit a crime. If you are less likely to get caught, this is just the reality of it, you are more likely to commit a crime or just do something you know is wrong. That's why kids put their hands in the cookie jar when mama's not looking. When mama's looking at that cookie jar, kids don't put their hand in the cookie jar. It's the same thing with elections. It's the same thing with human nature. And this is why the left wants it, because the left cheats. They cheat all the time. When you have no standards, when you have no baseline morality, then you can do whatever you want and you can justify it. And that's what the left does. No matter what they tell you, it's what they do. It's what the left has become. They have become the party of cheating and fraud and do whatever it takes to accomplish their mission. This is what the left has become. And I know a lot of you guys, some of you guys might still be registered Democrats out there. You might want to rethink that. But you might be watching this saying, you know what, I'm not like that. And that's true. There are a lot of registered Democrats who are good people. There are a lot of them. But if you look at what the Democratic Party has become, it is a party of baseless amorality. It's godless. They booed God at the 2016 convention. They don't want God as part of the foundation because they don't want a moral foundation. They want abortion up through birth and after some of these crazy evil people. They want socialism and communism, which creates more death than any other political system in the history of the world, and they know it. They want criminals to be coddled and law-abiding citizens to be criminalized. That is what the left has become in America. They want to take from you and give to somebody who doesn't deserve it, because they only care about power. And that's the bottom line. So when you see Democrats coming out talking about, oh, it's racist to require voter ID. No, it's not racist to require voter ID. It's racist to say that it's racist to require voter ID, because when you say that, you're demeaning people of a different color and saying that they're not smart enough or capable of getting that same ID that a white person can get and go vote. That's basically what the Democrats are saying. That is racist. What we say on the conservative side is, I think everybody is capable of it, and if you're not capable of it, you probably shouldn't be voting. If you can't go out and get an ID to vote, but you can have that ID to go get cigarettes or alcohol or whatever you might need to get, purchase anything online, if you can't get that voter ID, then you probably shouldn't be voting. This is the society that we've created. I saw a report, I think it was yesterday, this morning, I don't know, it's kind of blended together, how pathetic America's become. How pathetic we've become when they compared the greatest generation, our Second World War vet generation. The men that were willing to go out and lay their bodies down for this country, and the only reason that we're still free today and we're not speaking German in America is because of those warriors that we celebrated 2 days ago. And now we have a generation of sycophants, of child adults who were taught that everybody gets a trophy, everybody's a winner, there's no losers in life. If somebody offends you, it's your responsibility to get even. Nobody can offend you. And now we have a generation of pathetic, weak, sissy losers. That is what the Democrats want for America. And it's sad. I don't want it. I refuse it. It's time that we raise our children up. If you have boys, it's time to raise your children to be, your boys to be men. And if they were born boys, they are boys. If you have girls, it's time to raise them to be ladies. It's time that we get back to a foundation of morality, a standard. And you set that standard in your household. It's not the government's job to set that standard. Now, thankfully, we have a constitution that's based on God-given inalienable rights, and that really is the start of a foundation if you want to build it. But you as parents, really, this is on you and me and the parents out there. It's not on our schools. It's not on our government. It's not on what's on TV. It's on us to filter that stuff. What we let our children watch has an impact on their life. What we accept in our school system has an impact in our children's life. Who we elect to office has an impact on our children's life. It is up to us as the parents. A society is built on a foundation that starts with the parents. Really, it starts with the church. If you don't have a solid church, then you typically don't have solid parents. So you got a church, you got a good church or a dead church. Many places in America, you got a dead church. It's time to make the church alive again. As soon as all this started happening and we had churches just bend over and say, fine, we'll close our doors, that's a dead church. That's a dead church system where people say we're the church that relies on Christ's truth, on the creator of the universe's truth, on his power, on the God who created all things and can raise people from the dead. As soon as that church says, you know what, we rely more on the government, we care more about our 501c3 than we do about preaching the word, that's a dead church. It's time to awaken the church. And then it's time for the parents to take responsibility for themselves. If you got bad kids, it's your fault. I mean, yes, nature versus nurture. Some kids are just born tweaked. We're all born with a bent towards evil. Some kids turn bad, and you're a great parent. Nobody's perfect. But honestly, most of the bad kids I see have bad parents. Most of them. If you got bad kids, the first thing you want to look at is yourself. It's time that we reset that. It's time that we reset this nation and say, you know what? Stop whining about it and get over it. Suck it up. When my kids cry, this is what I tell them. You know what I tell them? And I'd recommend this for any parents out there. When my kid's crying for no reason, I tell them, you know what you get when you cry? Nothing. Nothing. And you know what they get when they cry? Nothing. It's okay. It's okay to let them cry. It's okay to let them figure out that they don't run the house. Now, we live in a state in California. We're going through all this nonsense, right? Coronavirus, COVID, all of this craziness that's going on right now. We have a governor in the state of California who is a tyrant. He is a wannabe dictator, and he's just a really terrible guy. I've met him a couple times, as slimy as they come. I'm still praying for him. I had a dream about him the other night that he came that he found the Lord. And you know what? I'm still praying for that. I'm praying that someday I can sit down and have a conversation with the guy, and we can connect, and I can speak life into him. But right now, the guy's lost, and he's a terrible guy. This guy wants you to not be able, they just came out with their new rules. He wants businesses to be destroyed. Now they're finally starting to let a few things open. The last thing we can do right now, though, is let off the gas, guys. Until everything is opened, until the new normal, this idea, is destroyed, and we get back to America the Beautiful, founded on greatness, the greatest country in the history of the world, because we're willing to take risks, then we have to keep on the gas. This guy now says that the new rules for demonstrating, if you want to go protest, you can only have less than 100 people, and you can only have, I think it's 25% of the occupancy capacity. So if you're out on a street corner, which I didn't know they had occupancy capacities out on street corners, you can only have 25% or 50% capacity. This is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And thankfully, people of the state of California are waking up. We have reopened rallies going on across the state. We had a huge one this weekend in Sacramento. People are waking up. My new chant is, no mask, no fear, liberty is welcome here. No mask, no fear, liberty is welcome here. No mask, no fear. I'm thinking about switching to freedom is welcome here. You guys, join in that with me. No mask, no fear, freedom is welcome here. My wife and kids are probably thinking I'm crazy. But that's what it is, guys. We cannot live like this. I go into these stores and I see this mask shaming that's going on. These people in there looking at you like, you're putting my life in danger by not wearing a mask. And then I watch them talking to someone, they're like, They can't breathe in the stupid things. They're putting their own lives in danger. You got people with emphysema putting a mask on their face as if that's going to protect them. This is crazy. In New York, I saw them shame this woman out of a store. Chase her out of a store. You guys have probably seen it. For not wearing a mask. It's insane, guys. This is insane. And it has to stop. And the only way it stops is if en masse, not mask, en masse, we stand up and say no more. We're done with it. We're done with this tyranny. And in the future, if this happens again, and it will, there will be another pandemic. We refuse to allow this to happen to us. We will live at our own risk as a nation. We will be wise. You want to make recommendations? Thank you, President Trump. Made some great recommendations. I think you had not a fan of Birx, not a fan of Fauci, but I appreciate you for saying you didn't have the answers and bring in the people. They're the head of the CDC, so you got to have them in there, unfortunately. You use the experts. The left says, oh, he never uses the experts, President Trump. You use the experts. The experts said this is what they recommend, and President Trump says, based on the experts' recommendation, this is what I recommend. And that changed a few times because the experts' recommendations changed a few times. But what President Trump didn't do, what Gavin Newsom and many of the dictators across the country are doing, is forcing it, mandating it. There is no constitutional right for a governor of a state to shut down private industry. There is no right, whether it's a state of emergency or not. There is no right under the Constitution for a governor to pick winners and losers, and that's what's happening right now. They're utterly destroying small businesses across this country and protecting their corporate interests. There is no constitutional right for that, and we must, as a nation, say, never again will we allow this. The irony of all this is California's bankrupt. We've been for a long time. We cook the books out here. We have unfunded liabilities and pensions that have bankrupted this nation for years already. The unions, the public employee unions in California have destroyed this state. And the reason they have is because the Democrats protect them. And the reason the Democrats protect them is because it's their voting base. The Democrats protect public employee unions that are paid for by our tax dollars, California citizens' tax dollars. And then those public employee unions end up going and voting for and campaigning for and using our tax dollars to slit our own throat and get more Democrats elected. That's been the cycle for years and years and years. Ironically now, Gavin Newsom has announced that the new budget is going to potentially cut public employee pensions and their salaries. Now, if this happens, and I pray it actually does happen, because it's needed to happen for a long time, hopefully those public employee unions and workers realize that the Democrats don't really care about them. And hopefully they wake up and realize it isn't worth voting for these people when they're destroying everything else in the state. At the same time that they're saying they're going to cut those funds for public employee unions and the workers and their pensions, they're giving more money to illegal aliens. They're wasting more money on homeless programs. They're wasting more money on high-speed rail and sending our money to China for masks that don't work. This is the irony and insanity of what we're living through in California. They're proposing to shut down Barstow VA Hospital and cut pensions for public employees, which I don't mind that part, but I do mind the VA part, while they're protecting illegal aliens, criminals, and China. That is what we're living in. Last thing. I think it's the last thing. I haven't even got to any of you guys' comments. I'm going to get down here. The comments weren't scrolling. Keep sharing. Keep sharing. Maria says, yesterday a car passed with a guy driving himself wearing a mask and rubber gloves. Yes! You don't need a mask when you're in your car. Or when you're jogging. I see these people out and they're running and they're sweating and they're breathing into their mask. Guys, you're hurting yourself. It doesn't help. And when you're driving, you just look like a complete moron. I mean, you look like a moron when you're in the store and you got your goggles. I saw a guy with goggles on, a mask, and gloves on in a store. If you want to live that way, man, whoa. I'm not going to stop you. I'm for freedom. You want to walk around and look like an idiot? I'm not going to stop you. But it's not helping. I'm just telling you that right now. Last thing, before I get to some of your guys' other comments, I want to get through some of these. Power is all the Democrats want. That's right, Linda. While all of this is happening right now, you know what the Democrats are proposing in California and across the country still? High density living. There's a bill, the first part of it failed, SB 50. It was proposed earlier this year by a Democrat in California, not surprising, to force more high density living. They want us to live in high density, high rise buildings and use public transportation. Do me a favor after this video is done. Not right now, after this video is done. Go and look at where most of the deaths occurred from COVID. And yes, that's all of the deaths, all the inflated numbers, all the people that died of car accidents but had COVID antibodies, all of that nonsense. But go look and see where that actually happened. It was primarily the vast majority, 90% of the cases of deaths were in Democrat-run districts. You know where the vast majority of those cases happened and the deaths occurred? In high-density corridors, with people that rode public transportation and lived in high-density living spaces. The last thing you want to do right now is move to a high-density area. What you should be looking at doing is moving out to the country, getting away from people. And this is why the Democrats don't want it, because they can control you. In high-density areas, government has a much easier time of controlling you, using the police state like we've seen in Sacramento and all the metropolitan cities across the country. They control you much more easily if you're in a high-density area. What I would recommend to you, strongly recommend to you, is look at moving into a rural area. Get out of this high-density nonsense and vote people out of office that talk like this, that talk about high density, that talk about forcing you, that talk about climate change killing the planet, that talk about getting you out of your cars and forcing you into public transportation. Those people are putting your life in danger. And that's the truth. Let's get to some of your guys' comments. Oh, and on top of that, you know what else? One more thing that Gavin Newsom is cutting. Firefighters. Wildland firefighters. In the state that just last year had the worst fire season in history. We had more deaths last year with the Paradise Fire than we've ever had before in California. Wildland fires. Gavin Newsom, the governor of this state, is cutting more funding to wildland firefighters. The reason that we have bad fires in California is not because of climate change. Unlike what the Democrats will tell you. It's not because of climate change. It's because we have not managed our forests in decades, because of radical environmentalism that has prevented us from managing our forests. Our forests are 4 times the density that they should be. A healthy forest, they're 4 times the density of a healthy forest. And that's because we don't allow controlled burns. When a fire starts, we go and put it out. We try to put it out immediately. In the past, this is what would happen. Just bear with me for a second here. So in the past, historically, before we had firefighters and before we had these huge wildland fire systems and all this stuff, before we were living up in the mountains, all this, lightning would strike, fire would start, it would burn off the top layer of growth, and it would burn itself out. And then that would actually germinate new seeds. It would create a whole new growth of trees. It would burn off some of the trees and leave some of the lower canopy. Basically what it did was create a healthy forest. We came along and said, we're going to put out all the fires. Which is okay if then we manage the forest. If we say we're going to put out all the fires, but we're going to go cut back the forest like a natural wildfire would cut it back. We're going to go thin the trees. We're going to go create less fuel for the fires to burn on. We're going to take some of those trees out. We're going to take the dead brush out. We're going to just clean the forest. If we're going to stop natural wildfires, then we have to manage the forest. Well, we did that for a while. And then Democrats came along and said, oh, no, there's a spotted owl and the fire, they're going to burn. You guys are cutting down the trees for the spotted owl, and we can't cut down trees anymore. That's my impersonation of a Democrat. Crying liberal Democrat. So we quit cutting down the trees and we destroyed timber harvesting in the state of California. We shut down all but one mill in the Central Valley. Communities that lived on mills that took that wood and sent it out to the rest of the world to create everything that is created from wood, including the pencils that you use to write with, if you use a pencil, and the wood that frames your house, and everything else. We stopped doing that. Now, instead of cutting down 250,000 acres a year, which is what we did back then, now we burn 1 million acres a year. Because we stopped managing the forest. These same crybaby liberals, bleeding heart liberals, that wanted to supposedly protect the spotted owl are now killing the spotted owl habitat because we can't stop the fires. They're out of control. They're called catastrophic wildfires because there's so much fuel for them to burn. They burn so hot, they sterilize everything. So it's not like the old days where you'd have a fire, it would clean off the top layer, and then the seeds would germinate and they'd grow and you'd create a whole new canopy and a whole new forest. That doesn't happen now. Now the fires burn so hot that they destroy the seeds and they can't germinate. So you'll go and see these fires that burned 20 years ago, and all you have is grasses and shrub brushes. You don't have the trees coming back. That is because of radical environmentalism saying we can't manage our forests anymore. And this same governor, who's shutting down the VA hospital to protect illegal aliens and to protect criminals, letting them out on the street and arresting you for exercising your First Amendment right, is saying we need to cut more of those wildland firefighters. We already don't manage the forests, and now we're not going to even go put the fires out. More people are going to die from this. I am much more concerned about Democrat policies than I am about COVID, and you should be too. All right, that's it. That's my take on what's going on. Let's get to some of your guys' comments. Yep, President Trump didn't shut down our country. The governor shut it down. The governors of each state, and they all had the choice. I support the 10th Amendment. There are things that the federal government should not be doing, and I appreciate President Trump for not doing that. I appreciate the same people that call President Trump a fascist were the first ones to say that he wasn't doing enough when all of this COVID nonsense started. When he said it's up to the states to decide this, they said he was a racist for shutting down flights from China. But then when he said we're going to allow states to determine what is best for their states, they said he didn't do enough. The same Democrats who at the same time the Wuhan flu was coming out were still trying to impeach him. The same Democrats who've had a coup attempt against him for 3.5 years. Now they're saying that he doesn't deserve to be president because of the deaths from this COVID, which in reality, most of those were from comorbidity, from people that were out of shape, people that were dying anyways, people that had heart attacks and strokes and diabetes and the rest of it. It's the same people. It's the same people. And every argument you hear from now until November, until the election in 2020, is going to be the same garbage coming from the Democrats. Nonsense attacks against President Trump, simply to try to get more power. That's the bottom line. Karen, you're right. True Americans need to stand up for freedom, 100%. And I will be, just in case you guys are wondering, we need to keep going. We need to keep standing up. Yes, nursing homes. Becky, nursing homes. Becky, yes. What did we do? What did Cuomo do in New York? He's getting all this praise from Democrats. Cuomo killed people. He sent them back to nursing homes, which are not equipped to take care of terminally sick people. They're not equipped to take care, of pandemics. They do take care of some terminally sick people. They're not equipped to take care of infectious disease. When my father-in-law was passing away, he was in a nursing home. Every time he'd get a bladder infection, they'd send him to the hospital because they weren't equipped to take care of him in the nursing home for the bladder infection. But yet we have governors sending people with COVID, supposedly this incredibly deadly, what's the word I'm looking for? Contagious disease back to nursing homes. And yet the Democrats get a pass. Yes, Becky. Yes. It's crazy. It's crazy. All of this, Democrat states being destroyed. You look at the states that are closed and their death toll, and you compare that to the states that are open and their death toll, fewer people are dying in open states. Most of those open states are run by Republicans. Now, I'm not saying there's causation, but there's definitely a connection. And it goes back to all the things we were talking about. High density living, public transportation, government control of your life, and Democrats making really stupid decisions in time of crisis. Yes, Mary, good point. There is a petition. Guys, if you're in California, if I was a Democrat, I'd say whether you're in California or not, but I'm not a Democrat, so I don't support voter fraud. If you're in California, you need to get on this. Recallgavin2020.com, recallgavin2020.com. There's a new petition out to recall Gavin Newsom. He needs to be recalled. But what we need to keep in mind is as we go forward, when Gavin Newsom is recalled, that we don't elect somebody as bad or worse. We have to wake up the populace. We have to educate the people. That is why Frontline America exists. That's why I started doing what I do, is to shine light in the darkness, to expose the left, and to raise up the next generation of warriors, not the pamby, sissy, wimpy boys that Democrats want, the men and women of this country to stand up and take this country back. We have to make sure we educate people to vote right, and we have to get rid of the voter fraud. We have to scrub the voter rolls. We have to stop mail-in ballots. We have to stop vote harvesting. All of that. 100% right. Recall Gavin 2020, guys. Check it out. They were killing older people. You know, it doesn't surprise me at all. That's from Deb. It doesn't surprise me at all that this came from China. A country, and this we haven't talked about this, a country that supports eugenics, supports murdering its own people, population control. The same thing that Bill Gates supports, population control. The same thing that most of the globalist left support, population control. They say, I've even heard, this is how insane this is. I've heard some of these people say that the ideal population of human beings on the planet is 500 million. 500 million. That's 200 million more, 150 million more than America has right now. That means that 600, almost 700 billion people would have to die. Now, not all of these people are that insane, but there is a large group of radical leftist globalists out there that believe that the only way to save this planet is to decrease the population. And the only way you do that is either by not having as many births, which is why they support abortion, or having more deaths. It's the only way to do it. There's only two ways of doing it. So it does not surprise me at all that this came out of China. Now, whether or not it was intentional, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I know. I don't think there are very many people who know. Somebody knows. I think President Trump knows, and I think over time we're going to see more and more and more come out about that. But it does not surprise me at all. Yes, there are a large group of people that see older people as expendable. They're the people that want care rationing. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Yep, Patsy says, things are picking up. Evil is ramping up right now. We are in a battle of good versus evil. We are. Evil wants to destroy America. Evil wants to destroy this country. Evil wants to destroy good. Thankfully, we know the outcome. God wins. In the meantime, though, evil wants many to suffer. And it's our job, it's our duty to stand up against that evil, to expose that evil. Whether it's the abortion, mass murder industry, or the LGBTQ amorality, sexualization of our children, or pushing for socialism over capitalism. It's all, the base of all of it is evil. And we need to expose it and defeat it. Couple more, and then we're going to roll. Robert says, we have controlled burns every year, haven't had a major fire in 30 years. Robert, where are you from? Now, there are still, just in case, just so I'm clear, there are still controlled burns that happen in California. Just not to the rate that's necessary to thin the forest to the point where they're healthy. There are. In fact, I went up and interviewed some of the firefighters that were doing a controlled burn last year up by Hume Lake. They do happen, but not nearly to the extent that they need to happen. Oh, the last thing. All right, and we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Linda. It's an honor for me to speak. All right, last thing, Friday. You guys keep asking where to go for these reopen rallies. I will be in San Luis Obispo. If you guys go to my page from at noon to 1, I believe that's the time, go to my Frontline America page, Frontline America. And this is the crazy thing. You actually have to type in Facebook. The censorship is out of control. I want to say this again if you guys are just watching now. Make sure you go to America's Voice News, click the 3 buttons, make sure you're following, and you have it set to see first. Do the same thing on Frontline America with Ben Bergquam. We have 2 different pages. I have Frontline America with Ben Bergquam, which is our news and political page. And then there's Frontline America Foundation, which is our nonprofit. What's ironic is if you search Frontline America, the foundation page comes up on Facebook. It only has a couple thousand followers on it. Frontline America with Ben Bergquam, which has 140-some thousand followers, doesn't even show up. You actually have to type in Frontline America with Ben Bergquam for it to show up. This is all part of the censorship. What I need you to do is go there, click on those 3 buttons, hit see first so you get the notifications. Friday, I will be in San Luis Obispo. You guys can go on my page, Frontline America with Ben Bergquam. My last post before this one, it has all the information on where to go, how to join us there. Tomorrow, I will be from the road. Stay tuned for that. I don't want to break any of that or give it away right now, but stay tuned. It's going to be great stories tomorrow. Stay tuned. I'm going to be on America's Voice Live here with Tudor Dixon and Matt Locke in just a minute. So I'll be on there. So stay tuned for that. And just keep standing up. Expose the left, expose the lies. God bless you guys. God bless America. God bless President Trump. We win when we stand.